Welcome to the latest episode of KapVista Klips. Today we are here with the team from Clearitt. Richard and Robert, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Good, thanks, Daniel.
It's great to have you here, and I'm excited to get into what Clearitt is because what you've built and what you've launched is pretty amazing. Like it's revolutionary. It's something that doesn't exist, but there is a clear need for it. But before we get into that, I want to jump into your backgrounds and the story leading up to this point, who you are, and everything that makes you the right people to back. So we'll start with you, Richard. Introduce yourself, give us your background, and how you met Robert, and go.
Sure. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, so as you can hear, I'm not Aussie, I'm Swedish. I've been here 10 years, past weekends, a bit of a celebration going on there. But my background is, I spent too many years in the university environment, but I finally got out there. But what was important from that period is that the idea of Clearitt came back then, which is now 20 years ago. But back then you couldn't really do what we are trying to do now today because of the change, the technology and everything that is available today. I left academia and I've been in financial services, in wealth management and banking and sales since then. But I started working on and building Clearitt now in 2023 full time. And we launched now a couple of weeks back, open up the doors. And during this probably last 6 months, people are started to see that something is actually coming out of this. And at that time also, I met Robert, and Robert has been heading up a fintech here in Sydney, which really has been quite a success. And Robert has come on board here, and maybe I let Robert take over from that part, but it's been a blessing for us so far. And Robert, maybe you can explain your background quickly as well.
Sure, thank you, Richard. So indeed, it's been an interesting 6 months. Just quickly on my background, so I spent the last 30 years working for international software services companies, in managerial roles, help them build their revenues and expand the business. So that's what I bring to the table. The last 6 years, as Richard mentioned, I headed a fintech focusing on consumer finance. Started in the UK, and then my job was to transition the company and transition the platform so that they could go international, which we achieved in that period of time. Expanded into Australia and New Zealand while maintaining and growing the UK market. We got to the point of $300 million loan book, so reasonable growth, which required funding and support, of course, from investors. But so that's my background. And as Richard said, 6 months ago we met, and as most people who come across Clearitt, you got this aha moment saying, is this for real? Is this something that you're actually building? And I got excited very early on, decided to put a little bit of money into the business because it needed, those early investors to push it along. Decided the last 3 months have been more and more involved in helping Richard to get to the next stage. I might park it there, Richard, and then you can talk a little bit about what Clearitt actually is, and I'll fill in some of the gaps where needed.
Yeah, so Robert is helping out with more and more of the day-to-day stuff. But I should also say that in Robert's previous company, there's a lot of people who have come and joined us already, and are also knocking on the door and are keen to come. And that we think that's very important because we need to execute something here very quickly, and to have a team that are already kind of, it's an oiled machinery. They know each other, and they're willing to come over here. Is of course very important. And also we don't have to do the recruitment and the trial and error. We know all the good guys. We can cherry pick basically, which is also like very fortunate for us.
Yeah,
Yes. So
that's. I mean that just goes to show that um, you've got something good that people are knocking the door that want to come in, but the fact that the team has worked together and built something very successful, and then they want to come across to you, that is a good sign that the company has the right foundation and culture going forward. So if you can bring them all on board, that is a good sign that you can build something special as well. But let's jump into Clearitt. Tell us what it is.
we help businesses to settle their invoices in bulk without cash payments, without cash transfers, which sounds a little bit outlandish when the first time you hear it, maybe. But the idea is very simple. It's like if I buy you a cup of coffee, Daniel, and you buy me a cup of coffee. I don't have to send you $5 and you send me $5. We sit and wait. I need you to pay me before I can pay you and stuff. We just figure out that no, we're even, right?
Yep.
So in day-to-day life, we do that all the time. We just try to net it off and use as little cash as possible. And in the business environment, similarly, we come across those few cases where you actually have a customer who's also your supplier, and then we try to net it off and be smart about it. But if you want to do it with more than two people or two companies, it becomes a little bit complicated, because then it's three of us, who pay what and whatever, who are what. But it's not complicated if you pull out a spreadsheet. Sometimes I take an example of a stag party or a hen party, where some people pay for dinner and some pay for drinks and some pay for this and that. And it becomes really complex because there's 20 guys or gals there. But once someone pull out the spreadsheet and puts down the numbers, it's quite easy to figure out how much we owe each other. So that kind of coordination is necessary, and that's what we are doing. We're kind of coordinating that. We see, like, you owe that much and you owe that much, you're owed that much. Okay, let's settle the differences instead of everybody sending all these gross payments around the system. And this is nothing new, really. The banks have figured this out a long time ago. Back in London, 250 years ago, they had these guys running around cashing in checks from other banks, and they were running crisscrossing, had to carry the cash around. But after a while, they realized that why not meet at the pub and run around the table instead of running around the city? And then they put checks in boxes, and then they netted it out. So they just had to settle the net balance, not all these gross payments of big cash money. So the banks have been doing that ever since. Of course, great advantage to them. And there are in the clearing systems that are in place today in the big financial institutions, that there are trillions of dollars going through those systems every day, just huge amounts of money. So what we're really doing is we're taking this kind of time-tested idea, which is really in its core quite simple, and just let everybody do that, and we're coordinating that for everybody on a large scale.
Yeah. That's interesting, and anybody who's come from the banking system, that's realistically how the SWIFT system works. If you send $1 million to another bank in, let's say I'm sitting here in Australia and I send $1 million to the US, my bank is physically not sending $1 million. It goes on a ledger system and it's just tallied. That's how it is. So when they say money's being moved, it's not really being moved. So you're just taking that same concept and applying it to small and medium-sized enterprises.
Yes, that's right. And we have some good, more recent examples of this as well, because we have these FX platforms like Currencyfair and Wise and so on, that are basically doing clearing behind the scenes. So like you're saying, you want to send $1,000 to your brother in London, and the $1,000 are actually not sent. It's just transferred and cleared off and netted off in the background, and you don't see that. But these companies have figured that out, and there was a need for that because the banks were charging too much or whatever. But they've of course gone from nothing to unicorns in 5-10 years here. So that there are modern examples of where you take that brilliant idea and apply it to a new area.
Yeah. So you're building a platform, a invoicing platform, networking play that's reducing. I mean, the way that I'm looking at it is, if I'm a business and I sign up to you, it clears a lot of headaches for me as a small business owner. But it also manages. I mean, the role of a you've got an inbound and outbound accounts team that managing the books. This will make their life so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. We on the benefit side there, of course, you spend a lot of time chasing your customers to get paid, which is a horrible, terribly boring thing to do, and it's not a good field moment to do that for anybody, because you need to get your hands on the cash. But the reason they might be delaying, the payment is that they are in the same boat. So they also need to get paid first. So that's a general problem. And if everybody has the same problem, you should sit down and figure out a solution that works for everybody at the same time. And that's what we are doing. But of course, it saves you all that time and hassle of doing that. Every single receivable you need to chase, but also every payable you need to pay every single invoice and so on. But we settle everything in bulk. You can have 1,000 payables and receivables, and we just net them off like that. So of course that saves a lot of time, and you would also save a cost, because normally you have to spend money on transaction fees, on other one-sided solutions that you try. You sell your invoices, you borrow money, and you pay the credit card fees and all that stuff. And that's also something that you will be much less need of.
Yeah. I would imagine that once a business signs up to this, it becomes incredibly sticky. And once they're ingrained in doing business this way, it's very hard to get out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's only one real big requirement here, and that is that your customer and supplier is using this. So that's like a network product. It's like Facebook or LinkedIn. You got to have your mates on there. And you got to have your customers and suppliers on here. But it's a financial benefit to you. It's also a financial benefit to them, because they are in the same boat as you. So we just got to get people to realize this, that there is another way, and it's beneficial for everybody involved.
Yeah,
I think, if I may, Daniel, I think Richard is kind of modest in the way he's presenting this. As we all know, there's a significant problem in the small and medium-sized businesses in Australia, but globally. Cash flow is a major challenge for these companies. They're with their backs against the wall. They are pushed to, financing some of the gaps through the banks or through lenders.
Yep.
And it's well documented, right? This is a big problem. So for us to come in and say, actually, there is another way of doing this. You just need to open your mind and say, this is a better, faster, cheaper way. I think we're going to change the business world in a big way. It does require, of course, building the network. It does, of course, require us to provide the right environment and technology, which we have built. But it's not a small problem we're trying to solve here. So that's the exciting part. And it's actually, as you said earlier, it's not difficult for people to get their head around this, because the savings, time savings, money savings are significant. It's that initial, aha moment that we require businesses to have, saying, wow, okay, I'll start using it. Once they're in, they won't reverse. They won't want to go back to the traditional way of paying your bills and chasing customers.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. Cash flow is one of the largest killers of business in this day and age. And then, managing cash flow, especially some businesses experience it, at this time of year, end of the year, people sort of shut down. So cash flow becomes harder, but other businesses thrive in this year because, they make all their sales. The other thing to keep in mind, and it's not just an Australian issue, it's a global issue, is funding requirements are getting harder and harder. The regulatory risk pressure is increasing for banks. So they're shutting down their lending or making it harder to lend money. So, where a business could have borrowed 200,000 last year may be only able to borrow 120,000 this year. So that funding gap is making it harder for businesses to operate, especially when they're trying to manage cash flow. So offering a solution like this is crucial, and it is a game changer.
I think, Richard, might be worthwhile addressing the pricing issue here as well, because as we just acknowledged, funding is expensive, time spent on chasing is expensive, etc. The Clearitt solution is offering a very different price point. Richard, you may want to dive into that.
Yeah, so we're kind of we set our pricing model to really a no-brainer level for every single company, because if we can save you from having to pay $100,000, our fee is $100. So that's like you normally have to go and borrow $100,000. You know what you have to pay. If you can even get that money. So it's 0.1% or whatever we can net off for you. So it's a performance-based fee. We don't get paid if we can't help you. So there's no cost to you to coming in and have a look and give it a try. And maybe we can help you this month, but maybe not next month. And that could happen as well, but it's no problem. There's no subscription fees or anything like that. So we set it at that level because we want everybody to be able to use this. So that's our mission. We want to get out there and change things for the better for everybody. And if we have a high fee, we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot, right?
Yeah.
But if everybody is doing this, the B2B transactions in Australia are $4 trillion every year. So if we have 0.1% of $4 trillion, it's kind of solid $4 billion, in potential revenue for us. So we just need to get the word out and start spreading here, and then of course we will be facing a phenomenal upside.
Yeah. Now, I imagine putting myself in your situation. I'm a business owner. I pay invoices. So putting myself in as putting my customer hat on and going through it. So I sign up to Clearitt. There's no fees that I need to pay unless you can help me out. I contact all of my suppliers, all my people that owe me money, and say, hey, I'm using Clearitt, and it goes out. Now, for me, for them to use pay me or use Clearitt, they sign up as well. So it's like a networking effect. Now, I've got 100 odd suppliers. My suppliers have got 100 odd suppliers. Their suppliers have got 100. So it's a networking effect. So if you can start to onboard people, let's say you do 10 a week, that multiplies very, very quickly. So for an investor who's watching this video, who wants to know what does the future look like, things can scale very, very fast. And I'm just putting my hat on as a business owner. I'm not trying to steal your thunder or anything. I'm looking at it from, if I sign up, I've got 100 suppliers that I pay. They've got 100 suppliers. They've got 100, and it just keeps going and going and going. This thing could be very big, very fast.
Yeah. So we're of course aware of that, and so we facilitate this on the platform. So when you sign up and play around there and have a look around, and you want to speed things up and build your network, we offer you to connect to your accounting platform, so we can pick up on your customers and suppliers and invite them on your behalf, like LinkedIn did back in the days. You got an email from LinkedIn saying like, "Hi Daniel, Richard wants to connect to you," and then you signed up and you can share your network, so you can grow much faster. So we facilitate that. You don't have to do that, but we facilitate that. But you can also on the platform invite people straight from the platform through your email account, your own email account. So we know that that's powerful, and it's in the financial interest of everybody involved. So that's of course very important, and that's how you can get the snowball rolling. We are at the stage now where we need to you make coming from a cold place. I know that you first have to make a little snowball, and then you start pushing it downhill, and it starts growing. But you have to make that first snowball, and that's where we are now. But we already see, from an initial marketing and stuff, how people react to when they get these kind of emails. It's very high open rates, like 60% plus, and click-through rates as well. So people are interested. It's working. We just need to scale it up.
Yeah.
The beauty
I
of
mean,
this as well, sorry, Daniel, just to add,
yeah.
I think Richard is very modest. So we've seen the early traction. The benefit of the way we've set it up, we have a very low cost of customer acquisition. A lot of this is automated. Any business that starts up faces the challenge of buying the customers, and it's expensive to get off the ground. For us, as we've said, we've started doing the marketing campaigns. We see extremely good conversion rates and hit rates. And we're seeing that network effect already, where initial customers that signed up have expanded, the growth of us. So we already have confirmation that that model works. So for us, it's now key to push on and not take too much time to get to the next level.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a bit about it, the traction that you've seen. You launched recently. You just did a capital raise, and now you've opened up your next raise. Tell me about the traction, both business wise and raise wise.
Yeah, we when it comes to traction, we open up now. It's 3 weeks ago now. So we brought on board a number of companies. We had a wait list, so we brought on board companies there. We've spoken to most of them to get their initial feeling and get the good feedback from the users. So because we want to, part of this is of course that we have an awesome product and user experience. So we learned quite a lot from that actually, and so we've been tweaking here every day and tried to get a better user experience to it. And some of the marketing we actually took a little break because we're at this time of the year as well. So we realized that we might be wasting our time here chasing people at this time of the year. But we'll keep going over the holidays, of course, here, and anybody can come on board at any time, of course, and sign up. On the capital raise side, I've spoken. You often hear that you speak to 100, you get 100 no for a yes. And when you want to raise capital, and that's pretty much the case for us too. I've spoken to so many potential investors here and so on, but we got probably 24 of them lined up that showed an interest. So that might come, but we have also, of course, want to cover the bases here, and so we're happy to work with you guys as well on this. And so it's a lot of interest here. Everybody wants to see those initial metrics that we're producing now over the next over these first weeks and the next over the holidays here. That's important to get their head around that, but we already see that there's no doubt that people want this. We see that they 60% plus open rates even on a cold email. That's just unheard of. So we're bringing another message to the table here. So that's.
I think we have an opportunity to go faster, and this is one of the reasons why we've reached out to you, Daniel, and your company. We will push forward at the rate we're going, but we have an opportunity now to go much faster. We've tried and tested what we built. We know what the results will be. We also have, as we alluded earlier, we have a team of people that have knocked on our door saying, I like what you guys are doing. I want to be part of this. They're not just the development group. They're also the compliance group, the finance group. There's a whole bunch of people out there that have spotted this opportunity. So we have an opportunity to do that now. And in order to do that, of course, we need a bigger investor or a number of investors to say, I get your story, I can see what you're up to, and we want to be part of that. I think the upside is so significant that, we're very confident that we can get this done.
Yeah. Okay. And tell me about your open raise. How much you're raising? And you said the use of funds is to pour gas on the fire and accelerate it. But how much you're raising, and what's the momentum been like?
Well, we have a target of raising $10 million, and part of that will be to make sure that we nail Australia here. That's a absolutely massive market in itself, but the big opportunity is, of course, to go for the bigger markets. So that's part of what we want the capital for as well, that we want to be able to focus on the bigger markets. I mean, the American market is 15 times bigger, and the European Union market is similar. And then there are other markets as well. So we want to do that in parallel, but we also have other parts we want to introduce even here in Australia, and that is to clear all the wages and salaries as well, which is another $1 trillion payments per year that we can let people clear instead of sending all the cash and so on. So that's also something we want to do, but we have other things we want to do as well. But if we do this in sequence, we might lose out on the opportunity. Because if we start, by the end of next year, we're a successful company in Australia, someone will copy us, and before we get a license in America, someone will be doing it over there. So we don't want to waste that, and we want to get people to understand that the opportunity is of course the international market as well. So that's why we want to have that money available to do all those things and start immediately. And so that's. Is that covering it, Robert?
Yeah, I think so. This is where my recent experience can be, helpful. As I said, we transitioned the fintech, made sure it could scale and could expand into international markets. So that's a very vivid, experience that I have. I know the people that are required. I know the path to follow. So first things first, launch in Australia, make sure that we nail this and that we can, prove the model. But at the same time, going overseas, takes time, money, and experience. So we want to do both. So we're biting off a big chunk here, and we realize that. So, but not asking for that amount of money seems wrong. It seems to be underselling us. Now, of course, this is down to investors and their due diligence and their questions, but we have a big dream. Richard has had this big dream for a long time. We can now see that we can do it. So we need the backing of the right investors to say, I like that. I believe that it'll make a difference. And I'll back you guys.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. So I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. I really enjoyed listening to about your story on Clearitt and why you're here. I honestly see that this is a game changer. Anybody who has owned their own business will understand this straight away, because if you've ever had to chase an invoice and then pay your own invoices, you know how time consuming it is, you know how frustrating it is. It is a burden that every single business owner experiences. So this is you're solving something, and you're not creating something. Well, you are creating something new, but you've just taking an existing model that banks have been using for decades. So you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just taking the wheel and putting it on a new vehicle. This is it's once you understand this scale of it, you can see that this is a like you said, a snowball that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So thank you very much for jumping on. It's great to chat to you. Anybody who's watching this video, please reach out to my team and we can connect you directly through to Richard and Robert. Thank you very much, guys.